Good day, coders. This is Bagare, and we are back with another video where we simplify these coding concepts. So, in this video, we'll be working on adding a JWT authentication token when the user logs in, and this will help us to actually increase our level of security for our API to actually authorize certain endpoints to a user that has like a JWT authentication token, right? So, how we go about doing this is first and foremost, you'll need to install this package over here, which is this JWT Vera, right? And then this will be added on your installed packages, or you can just browse if you don't have it under your installed packages, right? So, the next thing you'd want to do is actually then set up your config, right? This is just the object that stores like our JWT information, right? So over here, we'll just have this JWT, and then we'd want to first have like a valid issuer, right? This is someone who's going to be issuing this JWT token, right? So this will be coming from our HTTPS forward slash localhost 7145, right? And then we can just copy this, and then we'll have like a valid audience, right? um then over here we can just paste this, and our valid audience will come from http localhost uh 4200, and this will be like our client, which is going to be our front end, right? And then we'll just need to then have like a secret, right? The secret doesn't need to be known by everyone, right? This is a secret as you see the word. Well, with this secret, you just wanna add in like a key that's gonna help you encrypt what's this your JWT token, right? So for the secret, I would add in this is the secret for this video, right? So you can add in that secret, but what I normally like doing is because someone can look at this, because this is just plain text, and just memorize this and actually copy it over. But what I generally like to do is actually come here in this JWT.io website, and just create like an object which will then have like something like maybe reason, right? You can like literally just add an object with anything. This is is your secret, right? And then just close that up, and then I just like copying this encoded text and actually come here and paste it over there. You should be very weird if you can just memorize this by just looking at it, right? Then I'll just then save this, and the next step is then to add like a method that will then get like our token for us, right? um so how we do that is we'll come here and create a method which will be private JWT security um, security token, and then this over here will say get token. We want to get a token, right? So this is a method. For now, we'll just say return now, so we don't have errors, right? So JWT security token. Let's see over here. Yeah, we can just import that. And then what we then want to do is actually add like our auth key, right? Auth sign-in key, right? So how we do that is we say auth sign-in key equals to our new symmetric security key, symmetric security key, right? So in order to get like the symmetric security key, we want to encode like our security secret, right? We want to encode like our what's this our secret. So how we do this is encoding dot, and then we would want to first import this guy over here, click on that using system text, and this guy over here. Okay, that's fine. It's the matrix security key. We want to encode this to a UTF-8, right? Why do I keep on doing this? UTF-8 dot get bytes, right? And then we want to encode our actual secret over here, right? But how we actually get like our secret, we get this from our configurations, right? So what we need to do here is actually inject our I configurations, right? So how we do that is by the private read only, right? Read only I configuration, right? And then we'll add in this I configuration. So how we then do it is actually add it here in our constructor, and then we'll have this dot configuration equals that configuration. Then we have that over there. So now we can use something like configuration, and then the key we want here is from the JWT, and then what we want here is the secret, right? So this is what we want, secret. Then we'll just paste this here just to be sure. Right, so over here we'll need to say this is a symmetric security. My security was not spelled right, and then yeah, we can just import that. And then next thing we need to then do is actually now create our token. So for our token, what we then want to do is actually come here and say our token equals to a JWT Security Token, right? And then over here we need to add in like specific fields, right, in this token. So we'll have our issuer, right, which will then come from our configurations. Then this is JWT, and then valid issuer, right? So just to make sure, we want to just copy this so we just don't have any errors. Then what we then want to do is actually add our audience, and our audience will be coming from this configuration. Can we just remove this over here? My audience will be coming from this guy, valid audience, right? Or what we can just do, so that we show we've got the same thing, we can just paste this audience, right? So and then the next thing we probably want to do is add like an expiration date to our actual token, right? So how that will work is we'll use the date time dot now, right? And then you want to make this token expire after 24 hours. So we'll just add hours over here, and then we'll just say 24 hours. So this token will expire after 24 hours, right? So and then our another thing that we want to add over here is actually our claims. So in our claims, we want to add in this auth. So this, in order for us to get this token, what I forgot is in our parameter we need to pass in like our claims, right? So how we do that is we'll have a list of claim, right? Claim, hope I spelled that right. And then when I import that, and then this is gonna be our auth claim, right? So yeah, so this is what we're gonna pass in into our claims, right? So and then the last thing is then we'll just then need our sign-in credentials, right? And for sign-in credential, we need a new sign-in credentials. And for sign-in credentials, we need to pass in our auth sign-in key and then our security algorithm that we're going to be using, right? Which is the HMAC, yes, hash um, hash 256, right? Sure, 256, not hash 256. And then what we then want to return is actually now our token over here, right? So now we've got this method that actually gets our token for us. So what we will do is actually pass in our claims. So in our claims, we'll pass in information that we want to actually um, encode, right? With our JWT, whether it's your user ID, your username, and etc., etc., and your roles, right? Depending on what you want to use in authorizing like a certain endpoint. So now we can now go to our actual login and actually now create this token, right? So what we'll then want to do over here is actually have a method here which will then take in a var auth claims, right? And this will be a new list of claim, right? And then over here we'll take in like our claims, right? So this is going to be new claim, and then we want to say our claim types dot name, right? This claim type dot name will use just this username, right? So from the db user dot username, right, over there. Yeah, so first and foremost, this is just the first thing that we'd want to add in there, right? And then another thing we'd want to maybe add over here, we'd want to say that, okay, add a claims, right? And then we can use like our custom claim over here, which is going to be now user ID. And then our user ID will come from the db.user db_user.user_id, right, dot to string, right, because this has to be in a string format. And then we can come over here and close that here. So what we then want to do after that is actually now get our token, right? So how we actually get our token, would create a var token equals to this dot get our token, and then we'll just pass in these auth claims, right? So here we'll need a list of claim, right? And then here we just need to pass in this guy and then just close that up, right? So what we then want to return here, we want to return an OK message now just with our token instead of this whole user object. So how we do that is actually create a return OK. Should have done it there, but I'll just create another one. Return OK, and then this will be a new. Then for our token, sorry for that. Then for our token, right, we wanna then return our authorize our actual token, right? So how we return like our actual token, we'll use a new JWT Security Token handler, right? Which is coming in from here. Dot there has to be a right token over here, and then we'll just pass in this token that we created, right? So this will write our token for us. Then we can just add like our expiration, Then here we'll just say token dot valid 2. Right, this will just then print out also how long this token is going to be valid to. So it will actually print out like the date to when the token is going to be valid to. I think that made sense. I don't know if it did. So yeah, with just this on its own, now we can actually go about actually testing our endpoint to see if this works, right? We do that is run it and actually test it on Postman. Okay, let's see. Think stuff. Okay, everything is running. So now we can just come here and actually then we don't need that. Let's just test it out. So we made a request, yeah. So what we got over there is actually, so let's just test. If we've got that, we should get like username or password is incorrect. But if the username or password is correct, it should actually return our token for us, right? So this is the token that we're getting over here, which is this, right? So we can copy this and come here to this website and paste it here, right? And with this on its own, we can see here that our name is then this username, and then our user ID is then this 2, which is our custom user ID. Then our expiration date is that, issuer is that, and then our audience is that. So this text over here, we're getting this from the JWT, right? So what we can do over here is actually we can add in like more information over here. Instead of having user name over there, let's see, user name, right? So username, we can just say username also equals to the same thing over here, which will then be that. So right, that should be fine. So this on its own, if we were to like restart this, you'll see that in our actual encoded text, you will also see our username, right? So let me log in again. This should generate another authentication token for us, and then we can just copy this, come right here and actually paste it over here, right? And then you'll see here we've got username, user ID, and the name, right? So this works over here, right? So the nice thing about this is that the user can't just come and edit this stuff and think that they can use this token to actually like get authenticated, because what our API is doing is even though a user can come here and change this to maybe 4, right, over here, and change that to like 4 or something, right? They will then need to have like the same secret code as us in order for them to get like a valid signature, right? So that wouldn't work. So let me just paste that again, and then yeah. So now let's carry on and actually now add some level of security in our endpoint. So what we will do over here is stop this, and actually we'd wanna like maybe authorize, wanna authorize authorize, probably wanna authorize this endpoint and actually test that out, what will happen if we do that, right? So what we're saying is no other user should be able to use that endpoint unless they have like a JWT token, right? A valid JWT token. So what we then want to do with that is we'll come here to this weathers focus weather focus users endpoints and actually just try to test that. So what we see over here is we get an error that there is no authentication scheme was specified, right? But if we were to remove this tag over here, I think this hot reload, that didn't work. Let's restart and actually test it out. Um, so if we now run this endpoint over here, we'll see that this endpoint actually works. But now what we need to do is actually now add some configs to actually authorize, allow this authorization to come in from our header, right? So even if the user would come over here, right, and actually log in, our API should return this authentic JWT token, which then the user needs to then copy it over and add it over here in their authorizations, right? So here we'll just say bear token, that's what we need, and then we'll paste in our JWT token. Oh, I keep on stuttering. Sorry for that. So we can save that over there, right? Which is fine. And then now the next thing then we can do is actually now test this endpoint and see what will happen. So if we test this endpoint, oh well, that works because that authorized tag was not added in, right? So we run this now and actually now do that. So now we see over here, we get this area again, right? So now the question is, how do we then go about fixing this? So what we need to do in order for us to fix this issue is actually go into our programs, right? And Program.cs, where we set up like our configurations for before we actually build our API and actually add some authentications and yeah, add that JWT bearer right to it, right? So how we go about doing that is actually coming here, stopping this, and we'll come here to our programs, right? So first and foremost, what we will need to do is actually add our configurations variable. So how we do that is we'll use this configurations manager, then configuration, right, equals to new, no, this equals to the folder, right, dot configuration, right? So this will enable us to use like variables from our configuration. So what we then now want to add is builder dot services folders dot services. Then we want to add our authentication, right? So then what we need to then pass in over here is our options that we have. So what are the options that we wanna add, right? We saw over there that it was complaining about that we didn't have like our authentication scheme set up for us, right? So how we then do that is come right here and say options, and our options will be add a default authentication schema, which will equal to our JWT bearer. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Default, right? JWT bearer default, right? Defaults, and then we'll just need to import this. So, whoa, this is JWT bearer defaults, right? Yes. Now we can use this. this, then authentication schema, then we can add in like our default challenges, default challenge schema, and that's equal to that. Right, then we need to add in like our another options, which is our default scheme, right, which then equals to our JWT defaults.auth scheme, right? And then yeah, that's just all we need over there. And then after that, we just need to close that over there. All right, so since we've added like our authentication, now the next step is actually to add our JWT bearer, right? So how we do that is dot add, we'll need to say dot add our JWT bearer, and then with that we need to add in like our options for that, right? So our options will do equals to that. And then for our options, we'll have this options.save token, right, which will then equate that to true, right? And then we want to say now options dot require HTTP metadata, right, which will then equals to false. We want to set that to false, right? And then what did we do wrong? Let's just do this. That should be true. I think we need to close it off like that. Close this one off. And then we'll then have options dot token validation parameters, and then this will be equated to our new token validation token validation validation parameters, right? Then we just need to make sure we import that, and then after importing this guy over here, we'll need to specify like our parameters, and what we'll need over here is like our valid issuer, right? We'll set that to true. Validate issuer, validate audience, right? We'll set this validate our audience to true, and then we're gonna say specify what's our valid audience, right? So valid audience over here, this will be set to configuration, right? And then this will be JWT from the JWT dot valid audience, right? Or I can just come here into this app settings, copy this guy over here, and actually paste it over here, right? And then yeah, that's what we need there, right? Can close this guy over here. Configuration equals to this JWT. Can you just close this off like that? Configuration, right? They're using the same key over there, right? Configuration equals to this JWT. Okay. Oh, our valid audience, right? Yes. And then over here we want to have like a valid issuer equals to this configuration, right? And then this is JWT valid issuer, right? Or I can just copy it over just to make sure. right? But if you don't have trust issues, you can just type it out. Right, then the last thing we need over here is actually our issuers. So our issuer sign-in key, and that will equal to our symmetric security key, and then over there we'll just need to pass in like our actual secret over there, right? So what we do is we need to use the same encode, right? Encoding. So encoding, right? And then system text needs to be imported, and then we'll be saying utf8 dot get bytes, right? And then we just need to get our secret, right? So configuration, then we need our JWT, and then secret. Yes. So that's what we need over there. And yeah. So this is JWT secret. Did I close everything up? Oh, I need another. Yes. So this is all fine. So now let's test our endpoint. Let's see what happens. So now let's run this. And with this on its own, we should get like some sort of like error, right? Which I also struggled with when setting up like my JWT for the first time. So I'll also help you out to actually figure out what the error is, right? So what I then did is Kenya run, and then what you see is we don't get that huge error over here, which tells us that our scheme blah blah blah, right? Because we've already set up our scheme, right? So what we can do, our schema. So what we can then do is then log in again, which will then generate another token, right? And then we can just copy this token and come here and actually add that. So what we can do is actually paste this, save that token, and now run, right? So what we see over here is actually we still get this unauthorized, right? So the reason why we're getting this unauthorized is because in our API we didn't set up like our authentication, right? So we need to use like our authentication, because here we do have use authorization. That's why we can authorize like an endpoint. So now what we need to do is actually add here use authentication, right? That's all we needed. So now with that just added in there, what we can do is stop, and yeah, refresh. And now if we hit this uh, endpoint, now we see that over here we actually do have that, right? So if we then removed this token, save that, and try to run this endpoint, so what will happen over here, we'll get an unauthorized because we didn't pass in like a token to it, right? So let's see if we just pass in like an invalid token. So we have that, then we just pass something like that, add, and then try to run this. So you'll see over here we've got like an invalid token. So what if we came right here to the site and actually came here, and in the process of this then we added something like this, right? And then we copied this token, and then if we wanted to paste it over here, let's see what would happen, right? Save that token and actually run. So this would say this is unauthorized, because the reason why it's unauthorized is because now this person when actually modified our object didn't have the secret key. to actually like encode their token, right? So what we'll then need to do over here is actually run this again, right? Copy the token that we have and actually paste it here, right? So this is the token we want. Ah, that's restarted. So basically, if we actually paste that token over there and actually rerun that endpoint, it should actually give us like the results that we want, right? So what we want to do is come to our workspaces, my workspace. Let's see. We want to come to the do service that request over there. Okay, something didn't happen. Yeah, because we can't now open. Okay, now we did open our request. So if we try to send through, that's unauthorized, right? But we need to then paste in this guy over here, save, and then come to this request and actually run this. So this is a 200 OK, and you have this because our endpoint, our weather endpoint, returns this 200 OK with the actual error message. So with that being said, I think we are done. Please, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, peace.